Hey guys, it's Josh here from Diamond Eyes, and today we're going to be breaking down my new single, Father. So at the start we've got this intro, kind of fades in, swells in, very 80s-esque. We're running into the verse one. Big synths. Lots of vocals. Really kind of showing off the emotion in the track.
Cast out like a shadow, racing towards the light. I pray to see you one more time.
Cool. So, in verse 1, like I said, we have vocals, which is here. We have the synths, which is quite a bit of synths going on. Well, actually not many, like 2 or 3 bits. A couple of elements. And we've got a bass part that's being separated into bass and sub. And then a little bit of processing on. So, let's start with the vocals. Yeah.
I'm lost in a city, still so far from home. I've searched for...
So as you can see, we've got the main vocal here that's being treated separately to a bounce version of the backing, which is all condensed into one track here, just easier on the processing. And I liked what I had. So this is the backing track.
I'm lost in a city, still so far from home.
And then we have the mains.
I'm lost in a city, still so far from home.
Yeah, and then we got the like an affected vocal here. So that's really the vocals. I mean, usually what I do on the mains is I would load up something like Arvox here. Say here. Oh, come on. It's being shy. Okay, he doesn't want to load today. Maybe his friend does that? Okay, cool. Yeah, so I just usually run this. It's a really easy to understand compressor. I mean, it just has a compression button and you slide it down. I use it just to kind of take peaks off in the early stages so I can kind of get a vibe for how it's going to sound in the mix. But I would have, judging by kind of how fairly flat this waveform is, I'm going to go ahead and say that this definitely had Arvox on it. Yeah, and then past that, I mean, I would have just bounced it like that. A little bit of boosting in the kind of the gut, where the the main fundamentals will kind of sit. I guess I kind of brought out some of I took away some of the harshness, as I quite was going for the big dreamy kind of vocals. I wanted them to kind of sit in the mix a bit more. And yeah, and I think after that it's just a little altar boy kind of chilling out here. So we'll listen to him. Hey, oh wait, he's off. So he only comes on that phrase "on my life," I think. So yeah, you can see that kind of formant shift coming down progressively, which is cool. I liked it. It's a bit of a vibe. Yeah, then after that, just some cool 80s chorus from Tal Chorus LX, which is one of my favorite plugins. And yeah, it's just a really underrated little module. I think it's off of the bigger unit, but this is just like the little chorus width button section. Some Trash by Isotope, which is just really kind of driving the crap out of the effects. And then yeah, some mid-side. Well, actually, I've completely muted the middle and just given it a really side-heavy kind of bias. It sounds pretty cool. Yeah, so that's the vocals.
I'm lost in a city.
Oh, and just to quickly check the EQ, again, I just did more here. Looking back at it, maybe I added more into the backing vocals before I bounced them, because obviously I don't think you usually want to take off twice in one area for the vocals. Otherwise, you just kind of end up quite scooped. So yeah, they sounded good, and I suppose at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So yeah, moving on to the synths, we've got. So we got this like kind of ambient thing here, an ARP, and one of my all-time favorite sounds from Omnisphere, which is, I think it's called whale noises. So cool. Such a vibe. So you got that. Got this cool ARP doing its thing over here. And then maybe we can't hear that. It's very quiet. Okay, that's really far back in the mix. Seated back in the mix. So yeah, let's the ARP's very simple. It's just an Omnisphere sound running into an EQ. I'm just cutting off the low end, really giving the vocals kind of that space in this area, and then the low end with the bass and the sub. This cool Nexus delay and reverb module that I made, and I made it basically copied it off of one of Valentin Virtual Riot's live streams. I saw he had a really cool way of remaking the Nexus spatial effects, and really love how Nexus makes the synth sound with its spatial processing. So I wanted to try and see if I could kind of get close to that, kind of get it in the ballpark, which sounds really cool, and I really love it. So thanks for sharing that on your streams, Virtual Riot. After that, yeah, okay, I guess there's some real big resonances here. This is a plugin called Soothe, and it's a resonance processor. So in real time, it finds all the really nasty stuff and basically gets rid of it when it happens. As you can see demonstrated here. So after that, yeah, just a bit more EQing. I guess I wasn't happy with how much resonance was being cutted. So yeah, I did more. Yeah, and then after that, this cool whale sound in Omnisphere. I'll open up Omnisphere now, and you can have a look, see which one it is. Communicating with Whales 1, which is just a straight preset from Omnisphere. Omnisphere is great for presets, and yeah, you can really get some life into your track using something like Omnisphere. Really organic stuff, really great. So yeah, that's all the verse synths. A touch of EQ on top on the group, or the bus, I guess, if you were in Logic. Bass is pretty simple too. Yeah, so we've got the bass and the sub grouped together. Again, bass is just an Omnisphere sound, a little bit of OTT and some saturation. I just ran a saturator here, and I saw that the Ableton had the new feature with the sorry, English is not my strong point today. You can get rid of the extra macro knobs basically in the new version of Ableton, and it looks really aesthetically pleasing. So I was like, okay, cool. I just want to look at that, not the whole shebang. Some processing, getting rid of the low end, and getting rid of the mid range for the vocal, and also getting rid of some hiss from the top end. And then yeah, just more key moves. Ba-bam. Yeah, as you can see, it's more satin, as I just wanted to kind of give it a bit more grit. Some utility boosting the gain. So the filtering that just kind of comes up with the mix here in the automation lanes. And then yeah, more EQ again, because I guess one is never enough. And we finish it off with some exciting as well, which is really cool. Really love that module in Ozone. And the sub is pretty simple, just a sub in Serum. Actually, I think that's also by Virtual Riot. Yeah, dedicated sub. Pretty sure that's him. Kick tight. I think that's just really hiding in the vibe on the low end. And then yeah, just a spectrum here, just to see kind of how that sub is sitting, and making sure that it's kind of sitting nice and level. So yeah, that's bass and synths. Drums, again, kind of cut a lot of stuff out here. As you can see, I made some decisions to get rid of certain elements like the kicks and snares, and bring things in So the arrangement was more appealing. So as you can probably hear in this one, this is definitely not the final version, because the final, I worked with a really talented engineer called Benny Giles, and we did a long distance Zoom mix session. We used a plugin called Listen To, which is great, by the way. It allows you to basically stream your DAW audio to somebody else remotely at a very, very high quality, and it's pay to use, and you can essentially pay for like a week. It's very cheap, but yeah, ultimately it allows you to have a really, really high fidelity critical listening session with somebody, and that was really helpful when we were going through the mix and kind of listening to it together and deciding what needed to go and what needed to change. So yeah, Listen To, definitely a clutch plugin to have. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, we've got snares, claps, kicks, not much happening in the start. Yeah, just like crashes here, and really not much happening. Just some boring EQ, just where I thought it sounded bad. Some echo just to kind of blend it in a bit more to the mix. And just here, Spectrum, just looking out for resonances. Yeah, so if we move that over here, maybe that gets rid of that peak a bit. Yeah, it's just reducing that peak a touch. And yeah, that's really it for the... Oh, wait, hold on, claps. Yeah, just pushing the back of the mix and getting rid of some of the harshness. There's a lot of EQ moves happening here, but yeah, I mean, I think it sounded good, so that's usually an indicator if something's good or not. Yeah, so that's drums, effects. Again, not much happening. This is the first verse, you know, it's the introduction to the song. It's where we're starting. So yeah, just little bits here and there. So the drop is the coolest bit in my opinion. Yeah, so let's kind of dive in. So yeah, so the drops are really, really fun and vibey. So yeah, let's start with the vocals. The vocal is just, whoa, Father, never let me go. But coolly processed. Coolly, that's not a word, but today it is. So let's go with that. Okay, cool. So lots of processing here, but essentially, yeah, we'll run through this real quick. So got some EQ happening. Again, lots of harshness because it's super processed, so I got rid of a lot of that. OTT in a sensible amount, because it's super easy to kill a vibe with OTT. And I know there's two camps. There's those that swear by OTT, and there are those that will fight it off with a pitchfork. I'm playing both sides of the fence because there's a context where I believe it works. But that's my opinion, and take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, absolutely nothing is happening on this SSL channel, so I don't know why that's here. But he's just chilling. More processing on Soothe. You know what that does. After explaining it to you, resonance processor gets rid of nasty and resonances that you just don't like. But it's really great plugin. Some gain to boost it up, and then yeah, I think okay, so I know what would have happened here. So with Soothe, sometimes when you process it too hard, you lose a lot of the sound in that. So I'm just adding back and what I thought was taken out and adding back in more of a measured amount. And yeah, so that's the main, and then the backing is basically doing the same kind of thing. With the OTT, more EQ. And so this is with the high version. Very. I don't think I could do that. I don't think Michael Jackson could do that. I mean, not that he could now, but you know. Yeah, so that's the vocals in a nutshell. More EQ on the main group. Some excitement. some multi-band compression running in, just taming those upper mids and highs. More soothe. I think I just got soothe at this point, so soothe was absolutely everywhere. And then these are off, so they're not important. Echo Boy, I think, which is glitched because of the update, and more Echo Boy. So that's the lead vocals in the drop. So yeah, cool. Synths again, we got the same with the ARP, but this time we've added a couple of extra friends. You can see here, cool. It's like just some orchestral kind of vibe. Just sitting there and doing its thing. Again, just some multi-band compression, some EQ, nothing serious. Again, he's really just adding a little bit of high-end ambience. We can't hear much of him, but he's around. This is like one of the stars of the show. Super 80s. Again, Omnisphere. I mean, what can I say? You get what you pay for with that synth. Yeah, just cutting that low out basically and just shaping it in the mix. Not that there's much low end in that. Echo Boy, just for blending, we want it to be big wall of sound. Little resonance here. And that's about it. It's the ARP doing its thing, it's just one of the motifs in the song, and it's just giving it a little bit of a driving feel. Not a massive driving, like cruising, Cool whale synth again, develops a bit more. And yeah, that's all the synths, and that in conjunction with the bass as well will sound like this on its own. Very cool. Very thought-provoking. I think so anyway. Yeah, again, bass and sub stayed pretty consistent. It's not really like a future bass or thing kind of song, it's just fairly poppy in that regard, where the structure is pretty consistent. And I'm just adding and taking away elements, and just trying to drive certain emotions in different sections. So it's not, very much is about the chorus in this, but it's a journey, so you can see as the song progresses, it builds and builds and builds, and there's more elements that come in, and it's really cool. So yeah, so verses kind of stayed pretty similar moving forward from that. Also, I need to quickly go through the drums. Didn't see that. So let's just quickly run through these bad boys. Yeah, V-Riot stuff, great. It's proper high quality. We didn't keep the snare in the end. Well, we kind of added to it. It's kind of a conjunction of a few snares. So, snare's got some excitement on it. Yeah, some multivariant, some EQ. Just trying to get it in the mix. Compression, just trying to get a bit more of a snap on it. But very, very light compression here. A little bit more EQ. Yeah, nothing special here, guys. It's just bringing it in. The most important element here is really using your ears on this stuff. And this was when I was in a not very good listening environment. I had a attic space with like a slant in the wall and 3 walls, so I wasn't in a complete room, and a lot of sound was getting lost. And because each side of my listening environment was different, like one was just air and one was a hard wall, things like stereo imaging became a lot more harder to kind of judge. And so this was the other reason for bringing a really talented chap like Benny, for example, because he knows where he's at in his listening environment, and I'm there now, basically at the point where I've got a really nice room with very equal dimensions and some really good treatment, and I learned how my room kind of works with my speakers. My speakers are a set of Neumann KH310s. They're a new addition for me. I've only had them for a couple of months, but they are definitely would advise buying a good set of speakers. But even more than that, just understanding how your room works and where your build-ups of frequencies are and treating them so you can get a nice flat room. That way, when you come to mixing things, you don't need most of the time 1, 2, 3, and 1.4 EQs to make a mixing decision. I'm gonna go ahead and say a lot of that was room influenced rather than actual what needed to happen. So yeah, rant over. But yeah, if you want to up your mixing game, whatever room you're in, make it sound the best you can with what you can afford. Then get a set of good speakers, the best speakers you can afford. And when you have a balanced room and a optimal set of speakers for your price, yeah, that's a like a sweet spot, you know. Then it's just time and experience, and yeah, you'll walk away out of the studio being like, oh yeah, I can trust this mix. It's good. But yeah, it just claps kind of driving. I love these claps, they're great. Again, more EQ, lots of EQ. Basically, it's EQ in Valhalla Room. Sounds good though, I think. Cool driving snares, hats. Yeah, pretty simple. Just some frequency shifter to get it in the pitch that I wanted, and yeah, it's some EQ getting out some of the resonances and other bits. Also, this was really nice as well. This edition of the Sound Toys Pan Man. As you can see here, it's just going from right to left, and it's just giving some vibe in the mix. And so yeah, other than that, I think we just have this kick, which is a Vengeance sample. Wow. Okay, Vengeance VEH 270 and 80s kicks, number 27. Not often I use Vengeance samples in this day and age. However, there is a time and a place for me to use them, and this was definitely one of them. So just, yeah, some light EQ and getting rid of that high end. Some quite heavy multi-band compression here. You know, I really wanted that kind of like scooped kick 80s sound, so that's kind of where I went. Yeah, and I mean, at one point I did have a thing called Lustrous Plates, I think it was, yeah, which is a really cool plate reverb. And I just kind of do my reverbs in separate groups, and then just have one as like, we'll call that wet, because it would have been completely drenched in 100% reverb, and this would have just been the dry signal coming through, and same this, we'll call that wet too, because I had like you know, Valhalla Room in it like this. See, 100% mix. So this is just a completely wet channel that would have reverb and processing on, but then I could still mix it in with the dry that will sit at 0 decibels, which is really nice. But yeah, cool. So that's pretty much the drums in their essence. At this point there was nothing on the drum bus, but I'm pretty sure we ended up with some gluey compression going on there and all that fun bits. But yeah, and then yeah, I've just got a sidechain channel open here. I kind of just grouped it up just to kind of get it out of the way. But yeah, you can see if I solo this is where all my sidechain's going. Now, because it's not a super heavy tune, at this stage, I didn't put a lot of sidechain on. I wanted the upper end to kind of live on a bit more. But ultimately, as you can hear in the final, it's very, you know, it's like coming up with a kick and really kind of vibing. And ultimately, in the end, it sounded like the right decision to do. It was really adding a lot of emotion. Then there's just a trigger. So, you know, this is going from kick to snare to kick to snare to kick to snare. So it's going to change the amount of sidechain per kick and per snare. Yeah, it's a little bit of effect crash coming in, you know. Again, just lots of echo. It's 80s vibey, so we want lots of echo. And then yeah, the middle 8. Well, that's verse 2 actually, not middle 8. So verse 2 is the same as verse 1, but we're just adding in the kick and the snare element now, just to give it a sense of progression.
Will you come with me and guide me through
as you can see here.
Stand by, watch me fall apart.
And then we bring the claps in like we did for verse 1.
I've always loved you.
You see there underneath.
More than you know, Father.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. Also a cool tom fill that I put in. So as you can see here, let's turn that up a bit. Just super 80s, kind of bordering on Phil Collins. But yeah, I just found some toms that I liked. I went through my sample library. I went Command F on the Mac on the side on Ableton, and just went toms, and just went, and then yeah, picked out some ones I liked, and we ended up with these contenders right here. A little bit of multiband going on, just to keep everything kind of glued in together. That's about it. Later down the line, there was some other issues that came across with some paperiness in a couple of the hits, but yeah, we just EQ'd them out, and with some automation on the EQ. Yeah, and then that brings us into second chorus. Yeah, big and brash and beautiful. And then with the middle eight, I really wanted to bring it out, and bring out the vocal, and to really kind of drive home the emotion of the track. And before we go into the last chorus, just really kind of give it the send off, just let people know the emotion's kind of about to peak.
I need your love, I need your light, like city nights and satellites.
So cool vibey guitars.
I'm old and losing sight.
These are just demo guitars in the round, actually.
All through the night. I need your love, I need your light.
So yeah, if we solo the guitar sections, you can hear these. Very scratchy, very trashy. I kind of like that. Yeah, I was going for more of like a post-rock kind of vibe on this, and then later down the line we had the assistance of our good friends Tom Platz and Pete Harrington adding some really cool vibe with the guitar on these sections onwards, which is in my opinion really kind of sold that last kind of send off on the chorus and on the middle eight. So yeah, thanks guys. I look forward to people hearing that beautiful juicy guitarness in the song. But yeah, I mean, I was just using a guitar rig for this. This is really basic, like early 2000s, VST. But it did the job at the time, and yeah, hopefully moving forward, I would love to have more guitar in my tracks again, because that's my first love in music is the guitar. So I've just got a Kemper profile amp coming, so I'm so pumped to be able to dial in some really nice tones. And yeah, so fingers crossed, if you guys like the big emotional guitar stuff, there'll be more of that too. Yeah, just twice track guitars here, no double track, and very basic EQ on the SSL here, and then yeah, just some shaping with the EQ to kind of fit it in the mix nicely. And then yeah, a little snare roll that I added to. You can see that's kind of coming up. You see with the velocity down here, guys, that's just very basic. That looks very linear. Maybe I just clicked and dragged this up, and then yeah, kind of brought it up here. Just adding to the intensity. Yeah, again, a kick drum and some other samples, kind of going up in rhythm to really sell that last kind of adventure into the 80s emo euphoria that is Diamond Eyes in this song. And then yeah, we hit that last drop. Kind of changed the chord progression up a little bit. Yeah, just yeah, little variations on the theme here, but as I thought, last chorus, that's kind of, we want a little bit of change. We want some new sounds, and really just kind of really want to drive home that emotion in the vocal there. And yeah, as we come into the last ending, I've put it here on the tab as big rock ending, but it's more of a big synthwave ending. Some cool vocals here as well. I'll turn these up. Very quiet, but Yeah, and there's something that the Midnight do with a song called Crystalline, and they kind of bring it back in as like a redux kind of thing. It's really cool. So I like that. I wanted to try and achieve that. Yeah, cool. So that's kind of, yeah, nice big fade out, and yeah, like a little kind of fake build back up again. Really nice. Really enjoyed doing that. So that's pretty much the song in its entirety. On my master, I just had absolutely nothing on. Just things like Oscillus Megascope that is great for seeing kind of where the track is sitting, and you know, I definitely utilize this a lot more now in current projects. It's great to see how much low end you're losing when you cut out the highs, and you can just see the low end phase coming in on the oscilloscope, and it's really handy to kind of see what's going on down there. Here as well on this spectrum, I've just got the low end, so I can see kind of how the kick and the bass are interacting, and then obviously an overall theme here, just to kind of see where everything is, which is great. Oscilloscope, which is an old version basically of what I was using before Megascope. Tonal balance control, which is great. Yeah, at this point I was trying out lots of different EQ like analyzers and stuff. Now I just have 2 or 3 that I go to, but yeah, lots of useful bits in here. Paz has been a long stay for me. Just, yeah, it's great. I get to see where everything is, and I know how this analyzer works, and I know how it translates, so that will always kind of live on my master at some point. But yeah, other than that, just some automation, you know, at this point, just bringing down that kind of emotion and lifting it back up for one final time. You are with me. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so that's all that's really doing here on these. This could be neat. I could probably pop that into here with the auto filter, and then they can close that down, and we know what the automation is. So yeah, guys, that's Father really in its entirety. There's a lot to go through, a lot to digest, and I haven't done one of these in a long time, so I apologize if there is some stuttering or some rambling. Moving forward, definitely will hone in on my explanations and make sure that you guys can kind of digest what's been going on, and do that for you guys. As I was saying through the track, this isn't the final mix on this track actually. Usually I mix and master all of my own stuff, but for this song I really wanted it to kind of really hit a certain way, and so we enlisted the help of a really talented mix engineer called Benny, and it was mastered in Metropolis in the UK by a really talented mastering engineer called Stuart Hawkes. Honestly, like both of those guys were quintessential in ensuring that this track was what it needed to be. So yeah, thanks to those guys, and also thanks to NCS for having me here today. They've been also very essential on the growth of this track and supporting the building of it. And thanks to Tom and Pete as well for the beautiful guitars. And I've been Diamond Eyes. You've been awesome. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.